Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. I'll tell you what we're seeing in Washington, D.C., with the number of arrests, the number of illegal guns getting off the streets, the number of federal agencies working with local partners. I think you got upwards of 22 teams working the streets. Crime is coming down in Washington, D.C. It is amazing to watch. Now, compare that to what's happening in Los Angeles, to what's happening in Chicago, to what's happening in Baltimore. Crime is out of control. What President Trump has put on display is that when you have the willpower to make something happen, when you have the will to change, and you have the fortitude to actually go after criminals and punish them and put them behind bars, crime can start to come down very quickly. President Trump is embarrassing these cities like Los Angeles. And I mean embarrassing them. We're going to talk about that today. And then the mainstream media proving my point with their own story. I'm going to play for you how biased this story was on CBS Evening News, talking about Huntington Park and how 45% of Huntington Park are, quote, undocumented residents. You mean illegal aliens? The problems Huntington Park faces and how CBS explains it all goes hand in hand, and CBS didn't even know they laid out the argument for deportation. We'll go through that today on the podcast as well. With that, folks, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
I don't know. Maybe we should call it the tale of two cities, which is actually the tale of one city and 100 other cities in the United States. The tale of one city that I love talking about right now is Washington, D.C., as President Trump tries to get the crime under control. The exact opposite of what's happening in Los Angeles. The exact opposite of what's happening in Chicago. The exact opposite of what's happening in Baltimore. You go to liberal cities across the country, and these liberal cities are now being embarrassed by what's going on in Washington, D.C. You know, he flooded the zone, President Trump did, with 1,800 law enforcement personnel to go after criminals, thugs, bruisers, rapists, and yes, illegal aliens, cleaning up homeless encampments. Now, what if, we'll take L.A. as an example. What if we use this model for Los Angeles? What if we took 1,800 law enforcement personnel, federal agents, combined them with police, and took to the streets to start serving warrants on people? And we had judges that would keep these criminals in jail after we arrest them in a warrant roundup. You don't think you'd see crime start to drop very, very quickly? What if you took some of those 1,800 people and you started cleaning up homeless encampments? They counted 70 homeless encampments in D.C. They've managed in just a few days to clean up a little more than a third of them, 25 homeless encampments in just a few days. You don't think we could do that in L.A.? Of course we could. But you've got to want to do it. And we know that the liberal leadership in this city doesn't want to do it. So we look at what's happening in D.C. and see this shining beacon of light that, wow, it would be so easy, just as President Trump cleaned up the border and days later after taking over, the border is completely shut down and nobody's coming in that shouldn't be coming in. We could do the same thing with our cities. Why is this important? Let me give you an example of why this is important, okay? And when I talk about L.A., I'm talking about in and around the city, the metro area, all right? Southern California. We're all dealing with the same problems except a few little pockets where we have conservatives in control, or at least some folks with common sense. But not very many of our cities in Southern California has that. So this goes for anywhere. I'll give you an example. Redondo Beach. Over the weekend, Redondo Beach had a home invasion that had to have been one of the most frightening home invasions you could ever experience. 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday. Two guys. It's not quite clear. They either break in or they hold up in somewhat of a carjacking outside the house, bring the people inside, zip tie them, take up residence in the house for hours. Neighbors had called cops. The suspects end up fleeing, ultimately to be caught later. But the end result is 5:30 in the morning. You got homeowners who are zip tied as their home is burglarized by two suspects. Police says, oh, we don't think anybody else is responsible. We think we got them. Oh, great. Well, I would love to know, when you start to get into this investigation, how many times these clowns have been arrested for something like this. I bet they were out on bond. There's a high probability they're here illegally. I mean, it's the same story over and over again, right? You can change the names, you can change the dates, you can change the towns, but it's the same story. Career criminal, wreaks havoc on a law-abiding citizen. More often than not, they turn out to be an illegal alien, the career criminal. Oh, yeah, don't forget, they were just let out with no bond, and cops had him in custody a few weeks ago. It's the same story over and over and over again. West L.A., sexual assault suspect. I guess he's out on bond and continues to lure his victims from a bar back to his house and then sexually assault them after drugging their drinks. All of this is a festering problem thanks to liberalism in California, in this city. 855-785-8255, 855-785-8255. Now compare that to Washington, D.C. 22 multi-agency teams took to the streets. In just 2 days, you had 240 arrests made, 38 guns being taken off the street. The guns that were taken off the street was not cops going after the law-abiding like they love to do in California, but cops going after the law-breaking, which is even better. Now, Stephen Miller was talking about who should be to blame for all of this. Stephen Miller, of course, is one of President Trump's top deputies at the White House. He's an architect of many of these programs that we're now engaged in. Here he is blaming Bass and Newsom, cut 3.
The mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California were in the largest sanctuary city and the largest sanctuary state in America. They refused to turn over tens of thousands of serial criminal illegal aliens to ICE. So they get arrested by state or local authorities and they get cut loose. They then go on to commit crimes like assault, armed robbery, home invasion, and murder. The most unimaginable, egregious crimes you could think of. All of that blood, all of that suffering, all of that heartache, squarely on the soul and conscience of California's governor and the mayor of Los Angeles. They are guilty of crimes against humanity. They are facilitating child trafficking, sex trafficking. Look, they think this is a game. They think this is a joke. This is life and death.
All right, pause.
When you meet with...
Life and death is right. And here's why it's life and death. Because President Trump has ordered immigration authorities to go capture all of the illegals. You've got the mainstream media telling the illegals to don't comply. Here's what you do if you're confronted. You've got officials in Los Angeles, including Karen Bass, promoting the idea of letting people know about where these ICE raids are and what's happening. And you know what? Now you set the stage for a deadly encounter. And again, that's what happened. So apparently in San Bernardino, Department of Homeland Security is doing a targeted immigration enforcement, and you had two people in a truck. They are Hispanic. We don't know if they're illegal or not. Why don't we know? Because The mainstream media refused to ask them that question when they're interviewing them about the encounter with police that led to federal officers firing at their truck when these two Hispanic men refused to comply with officers' commands, would not roll down the window, would not identify themselves. And the police are decked out in police uniforms, in police gear, and police garb. There's cruisers everywhere. The police break the window of the suspect's pickup truck, and they hit the gas. According to federal agents, nearly running over two officers. One officer fires at them. They take off, ultimately to call San Bernardino police, asking them, who are the masked men that are trying to stop us? Now, that encounter was caused by the mainstream media pushing this ridiculous narrative that masked men wearing police uniforms are somehow there to kidnap you if you're a law-abiding American citizen. They're not. So this is one of the passengers in the truck. And, of course, the media shares his side of the story and barely tells the government side. This is cut one.
They hopped out with their pistols already drawn. Then they proceeded to ask us to lower the window and open the doors.
Hey, you can't do that!
Once the glasses were shattered, my father-in-law feared for his life from his perspective. And so I guess the car was already in drive, so he drove the vehicle away from where those agents were at.
3 gunshots can be heard.
Thank God the bullets didn't go through the truck. They just got stuck into the door. But they were aimed at my brother-in-law, who was in the passenger front. He said, or that he didn't shoot, sorry, that those 3 shots were him tapping on the glass. But we have bullet holes in the side of the vehicle now.
So here's a little tip for all of you out there. I don't care whether you're white as Casper the Ghost or dark as the night. If cops stop you and they're in police gear and there's 8 of them, heck, if there's one of them in a patrol car, you can tell who's police and who's not. These were police officers. It's clear. I've seen on the video. The media wants to make it out to somehow it's not clear. It's clear they're cops. Show your hands. Obey commands. Do not drive off in a reckless manner. Now, they say they didn't hit cops. Department of Homeland Security says not only did they hit cops, they injured 2 cops. So, of course, they fire back at the vehicle. This near-deadly encounter caused by a reckless mainstream media and a devious leftist leadership really across the country, but specifically in Southern California, well, and Northern California for that matter. You throw Gavin Newsom into it in Sacramento. All of it could be prevented, which brings us back full circle. Washington, D.C., overwhelmingly, you have the black community welcoming what's happening. There was a protest over the takeover of Metro Police by the feds. No joke. I didn't see one white person marching in the streets of, I didn't see one black person marching in the streets of D.C. It was all white and mostly white liberal women. Again, the downfall in America today. All right. That goes for the mainstream media as well. They're now reporting on Huntington Park, which has a huge illegal immigrant population. We're going to play a game. We're going to break down a CBS News story for you on Huntington Park. And just to show you how out of touch CBS News is. All right, I want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. Talk about supporting a company that believes in the things that we believe in, about freedom and American values and the ideals that this nation was founded on. That's what Patriot Mobile is about. And there are people that like to spend their money with companies like that. I'm one of them. It's why my phone is serviced by Patriot Mobile. I've got 2 lines from 2 different networks on this phone. You get to choose what network you want to be on, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, whatever it might be, but 100% U.S.-based customer service. And you know a portion of the proceeds made from every call you make go to support conservative causes like helping our veterans, fighting for gun rights and free speech and right-to-life issues. If you're not with Patriot Mobile, you're funding the woke left. So get 100% U.S.-based customer service, get a performance guarantee that is unlike any other, and stop funding the woke left, because that's what's happening every time you pay your cell phone company with a company that's not Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's the website I want you to go to. Use the promo code GRANT for a free first month service. 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT is the number. You tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you to get that free month service. I promise you're going to love Patriot Mobile. You're going to be so happy, and you're going to know you're with the official mobile phone provider of Stinchfield's Army. I want to talk to you about how deceitful the mainstream media is when it comes to covering not just the success of the Trump administration, not just when it comes to the demise of California, but when it comes to immigration, the good work of Tom Homan and his ICE agents. This is an article from NBC News, U.S. deportation tracker, counting arrests and deportations. Quote, President Donald Trump came into office promising a crackdown on unauthorized migrants. Now, is that what you call them? Are they unauthorized migrants? No, they're illegal aliens. And I wish the media would just be honest with us about that. Are they unauthorized? Yes, in the definition of the word unauthorized, I guess that works. But they're criminals, which makes them illegal. Illegal is much more than unauthorized. I was unauthorized to go into my coach's office when I played high school sports. But it wasn't illegal. It's just an unauthorized entry into his office trying to see if I can find the depth chart. It's a big difference between sneaking into the country. So let me just give you some of the numbers, though. Through August 14th, they've rounded up around 60,000 migrants. Now, there's 10 million to deport, okay? 10 million illegal aliens living in the United States. You've got over 1 million of self-deported, so that clearly is the quickest way to do this. But of the 60,000 of migrants in detention, in ICE detention, all right, so that's actually a little bit different. They're in detention. 29.7% have criminal convictions. 25% have pending criminal charges. 45% are listed as other immigration violator, and 11.6% are fast-tracked for deportation. So clearly these are not just randos, okay? Now, with that, you get CBS News, who wants to do a profile of Huntington Park right here in Southern California. I want you to listen to how they go about it, because they want you to believe that Huntington Park somehow is a victim of President Trump's deportation policies, instead of Huntington Park being a victim of Biden's open border policies. Let's roll the beginning of the CBS News story from Huntington Park.
Huntington Park, California, a working-class community of over 50,000 people, now feels it has a bullseye on its back because of ramped-up ICE raids. It's nearly 96% Latino, and as many as 45% of its residents are undocumented.
All right, pause.
So how is...
So, feels like it has a bullseye on its back. It's an American city. 45% of the people in Huntington Park are there illegally. Now, granted, you take 45% of your town out of the mix, yeah, your town's going to have an issue as far as the economy goes, because half your population that's shopping in your local grocery store is there illegally. But that doesn't mean that you don't do it. It only means that, hey, You want cheaper housing in America? I'll tell you how to get cheaper housing. Deport 45% of Huntington Park. Now you've got empty apartment complexes. They will lower the price of those apartment complexes. People nearby can move right in at a cheaper price. That's how you lower the price of housing. Not building more housing with government taxpayer dollars at a rate that's far greater than a private group could do it. That would be the backwards way of doing it. So the CBS News just has a bullseye on its back, 45% illegal, and somehow it's asking us to feel sorry for this city. Continue.
How has the community here responded to the ongoing raids?
They're scared.
Jonathan Sanabria sits on the city council. He also grew up here.
We are a target for them because we know that they are stereotyping and they're racially profiling us, and they're targeting folks that look like me.
Sanabria took us along Pacific
Boulevard. Hold on a second. How are they racially profiling? We know that the bottom line is that most of the illegals happen to be Hispanic, Latino, however you want to describe it. I understand that many come from Arab nations, Africa, you name it. I get it. But for the most part, most are going to be Hispanic. Now, he says they're targeting them. They're here illegally. So how are they stereotyping anybody when they just admitted that 45%, half their city is there illegally? Now, if you wanted to go and you're a cop and you wanted to arrest criminals and you knew, okay, that at the local park, half the people there were criminals that had warrants for their arrest, isn't that where you'd go first? It would be like hitting fish in a barrel. Of course. Continue.
Huntington Park's main commercial thoroughfare, the once vibrant city center, has now become eerily quiet. Jose Lomeli is a longtime resident.
I remember Pacific Boulevard was always packed, but since the raids have been going on, it's a ghost town. I don't even know how these places are surviving.
The councilman showed us how business owners are trying to lure customers back into these stores.
So here's a sign. There's people inside conducting business, but they now have their doors locked. They're saying, hey, knock so we can open the door, provide the services for you.
ICE agents would need a warrant to enter.
We see stores that are open, but they remain with the gates locked. So this is another way of the stores protecting themselves and their customers from unwanted interactions with ICE.
All right, stop it there. Since when are ICE officers going into little mom and pop stores and just rustling everybody up? They're not. They're doing targeted immigration enforcement with warrants, bench warrants for these people that have deportation orders. Now, you're locking your doors. Why are you doing that? Because of stories like this. CBS News is causing the problem. And Joe Biden's the one that allowed a city like Huntington Park to literally be filled with illegal aliens, compounding the problem for Huntington Park. So you got a crossroads now. You got a decision to make. Do you want to return your city to operate in a normal fashion where you've got American citizens or lawful visa holders coming and shopping and living in your city? Or do you want to rely on the illegal aliens that President Trump will end up removing at some point, and you'll have an empty street like that? And here's the other crossroads. Do you want to believe an outlet like CBS News? That was the Sunday evening news. That was on CBS Evening News. This thing ran. Literally scaring shop owners, scaring folks into locking their doors. How are you going to get any business if your doors are locked and you're not letting customers in? That's the crazy kind of thing we're talking about. All right, how often do I tell you about the wellness company? TWC.health/Grant. Use promo code GRANT. We're looking at the possibility of 250% tariffs on prescription medications. Wouldn't it be nice if you had the most common prescription medications in your home already? That's what this kit will do for you from the wellness company. You got to be ready for anything. TWC.health/Grant. That's the number and website, the website to go to. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. And then parasites. Man, they are all over the United States. I'm halfway through my parasite cleanse. My energy is up. My mind is clearer than ever before. Do you want these worms crawling around your body? Folks, seriously, that's in a piece of salmon at the grocery store. You eat that, that gets into your body. They take up residence in your brain, in your spine, organs, you name it. It's absolutely disgusting. Well, this parasite cleanse has been sold out 3 times by the wellness company. Mebendazole and ivermectin combined, compounded in one pill. You take one pill for 20 days, and the next thing you know, you're feeling better. 60 million Americans suffer from parasites. If you have a pet, the likelihood of you having parasites is great. So you just go online, twc.health/grant, fill out that form. Doctor will get back to you. And you'll get this great parasite cleanse that has helped me. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. So many other great products on the website there I want you to check out. twc.health/grant. Doctors you can trust, critical thinkers. They're going to help you stay healthy. Listen, are things going in the right direction in California? Or are they going in the wrong direction? I actually believe they're going in the wrong direction. I don't see a lot getting better. I will say this. I think we have some quality candidates running for political office in California. I just don't have great hopes that they can be victorious. When it comes to that front, when it comes to the fight that conservatives put up in California, I don't think there's actually anybody that fights harder. I mean that. You know, I spent a lot of time in Texas. I grew up in New York. There are few conservatives who fight hard in New York, not like California. California's got some real fighters. Texas has great fighters, but it's easier to fight there when you're on a winning battlefield. So when you look at what we're up against, you've got devious lawmakers in positions of power like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, who just literally are doing every decision they make is the wrong decisions for Californians. And then when you look at the mainstream media that's willing to back them up, this Huntington Park nonsense. We play one more clip from this CBS News story from Huntington Park.
A woman emerged from behind the gates. She runs this bridal shop. How is business?
¿Cómo ha estado el negocio estos días?
Muy mal.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Because the reality is that folks are scared of coming in, that folks are scared of being taken.
Uno tiene que de alguna manera proteger a nuestros clientes también.
So some folks that are coming, that the business owner is doing what they can to protect them.
What is the
All right,
overall impact on the...
What CBS doesn't even understand is they just proved my point. You own a business. You've now leased space. You're in an American city, okay? Huntington Park, California. And you don't speak English? You're the business owner, and you don't speak English. The fact that business and life can be conducted without even having to speak an ounce of English is part of the problem, and this is a part of the problem in every city that suffers from illegal immigration and every state that suffers from illegal immigration. It is the lack of assimilation. I can tell you this, when my great-grandfather came here from Italy, I don't know whether he spoke English or not. I would imagine that he did not. But he assimilated himself in lower Manhattan very, very quickly. This is what those immigrants did. They came here because they wanted to come here, and they wanted to assimilate and embrace the free market principles that America had to offer, the American dream that was attainable for everyone, and still is, by the way. But assimilation is key, and they refuse to assimilate, and CBS News just plays a clip where they have to translate for a shop owner in Huntington Park. How is that not a problem? Yet apparently I'm pessimistic, according to Scott in the high desert. Scott, welcome to the program. Line 1, please. Good morning, Scott.
How are you doing, Grant? Good morning.
I'm great.
Hey, Grant, I know we talked last week, and ever since Obama got elected, a lot of conservatives, and rightly so, took a pessimistic view of the conservative movement, what was happening with this country. And I'm like you. I grew up in Texas. I lived in Texas, and then I spent my other half of my life, my adult life, in California. I was actually born in Riverside, but I've never been more optimistic about this state than I am right now. I get the fact that we see all these things happening in L.A., Gavin Newsom, but I think that more and more Americans, especially in California, are coming to the realization that Marxists are running the state. They get it. Everybody I talk to in my line of work, I talk to a lot of people every day, and the tide's turning, man. I'm not saying we need to relent and not be on the charge and on the offense, because that's what this administration is doing. And I really think that 26 is going to be kind of a fuzzy, but Gavin Newsom only getting 24% of the Democrat vote in the state in multiple polls is pretty insane when you think about it. And I think Trump and his people are a large reason for that. And the media, more and more people in this country understand that they have a group email and they all say the same thing and they all push the same narrative. And I think more and more people in this state are waking up to it. And I'm just saying we need to keep fighting, but we shouldn't be negative, especially talking to people who are on the fence. We need to convince these people that, look, use your eyes and ears. Look what's happening. And I think they'll get it. I really am super optimistic about it.
And I'm glad you are, Scott. And look, I hope you're right, and I hope you have reason to be optimistic. Thank you so much for the phone call. I appreciate it. I hope you'll call again soon. You're a great caller. Here's the problem. People will accuse me of being pessimistic when I'm just being a realist. People hate when the truth is bad news. So I understand that you feel like people are fighting more than ever before, and that's a good thing. And I told you, California has some of the greatest conservative fighters on the face of the earth. They really do. It's really quite impressive to look at with what everything we face in California, and yet people are willing to step up like they do. Just come to our town halls and our other events put on by Salem Media. I mean, just fabulous. But the reality is we're wildly in the minority. We now have reached a point where conservatives are leaving. See, you know what was happening before to California? You had these kind of moderate liberals who were leaving California. They didn't know why they had to get out of the state, only that they had to get out. And then they brought their crazy, wacky liberal politics to states like Arizona and Colorado and Texas. Now what is happening is the conservatives, many of them are giving up. And there's a reason why Gavin Newsom only gets 24% of the vote in California, because even the wacky liberals see that California is a mess, but they don't see it's the politics. They're now just blaming Gavin Newsom for it. But don't confuse that with the rest of the country. The rest of the country doesn't see that. The rest of the country is going to see Gavin Newsom as a slick, good-looking guy who's a fast talker, and they're going to look at him, and I would hope they would see how insincere he is, but I fear they're not. So we got some big problems in this state because many of the fighters are leaving. Again, for the first time, we had more of an exodus than we had an inflow into California. California used to be the state young people flock to. You get out of college, I'm moving to California. I'm going to L.A. That's not happening anymore. All right, Glenn from Phoenix, line 2. What say you?
Hey, Grant, well, I think you're missing the point on this issue in regards, everything you're saying is correct. You haven't, in my opinion, and the previous caller is living in an alternate reality. 9 months ago, they just put in the worst senator in the country in California, Adam Schiff. So if that guy thinks that California is going the opposite way, there's no evidence to support that. Zero. They keep putting the worst of the worst in there. So you're spot on with everything, but the point you're missing, Grant, something I've been telling you for a while now, and we just had a showcase of it 2.5 weeks ago when the legislators in Texas took off And I called in a week ago Friday, so not 3 days ago, but 11 days ago, and I told you and Jen, I said not a damn thing's going to happen to these people. You had the governor sending harshly worded letters, talking really big on Fox News, and then not a damn thing. They didn't even lose their parking seat, Grant. So what the issue is bureaucrats and legislatures, politicians are never held accountable, sir. Why should the Democrats, when these 3 people were killed by that illegal driver in Florida, were given driver's license in California, why should they change the behavior when they're never going to jail, Grant? Only we're the ones going to jail. Yeah. So I hate to say this, that until there's accountability, there's nothing is going to change, sir. There's no reason for them to change. If anything, Gavin Newsom and his ilk are probably laughing at those 3 Americans that are dead. These idiots are dead because of our policies. They're probably laughing at them. And in extension, Grant, they're laughing at us because nothing ever happens to them.
Well,
that's it, sir.
Glenn, I will tell you I agree with everything you said. Thank you very much for the phone call. Glenn is correct. Those Texas lawmakers who fled to states like California and Illinois, I believe Glenn may have gotten the line that they didn't even have their parking spots taken because we were saying that on this program and the Real America's Voice show. In fact, we had a Texas lawmaker who says their committee assignments haven't even been revoked. And yet they do what they do. So until things change on that front, things aren't going to get better. I think it's got to get even worse in California to really turn around. That's the sad reality. Even worse? How does it get any worse? Man. All right. Energized Health has literally changed my life. I am now hydrated at a cellular level. Do you think at 56 years old, you get muscles like that? I'm bragging because I'm happy, man. I feel like I could compete with a high schooler out there. How is this the case? Intracellular hydration. Getting hydrated at a cellular level, the science behind it. I want you to go to energizedhealth.com. Look at the master class there. It'll explain to you why this program works. And then sign up. And when you do, you're going to be so happy. You're going to shed fat like you wouldn't believe. I know many of you are looking to lose weight. Some people, hundreds of pounds. They can help you do this in a very fast but easy manner. And I don't like to use the word easy, but I don't know how else to describe it. No crazy diets, no crazy workout scenarios. Just getting hydrated at a cellular level and doing things in a common sense fashion. Energized Health is going to help you get your life back together. This is a mind, body, soul program based in science. And yes, I will say it, biblical principles. EnergizedHealth.com. That's EnergizedHealth.com. Make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. Democrats have a real problem because everything they touch, they destroy. The only thing they got going for them is that Democrats themselves appear not to either realize it or want to willingly ignore it. How else do you explain what's going on in California? How else do you explain the ability for everyday Californians to tolerate the behavior of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom? They're awful. And yet people like Edward and Irwindale want to say that I somehow am attacking California. How in the world am I attacking California? My whole goal is to save California. But apparently Edward and Irwindale doesn't think that's the case. Edward, do you?
You know what? That's all you do is attack California. Come on, get real. Be honest, Mr.
I'm honest.
That's all you do.
I'm honest.
Okay.
What I do is I will say this. I attack dopey liberals who ruin California. I will say I attack that.
You mean like me? You mean like me, right?
In many respects, Edward, I will say this. I think because you vote the way you do, you push the politics the way you do, I think you are part of the destruction of California. I do firmly believe that. And there are millions of other people like you that blindly follow Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass.
Okay, you know me so well. What policy am I supporting that is bad for California? Name me one or two that I'm supporting.
Well, let's say this. Would you like to see the rich? Would you like to see the rich pay more of their fair share?
I want everyone to pay their fair share.
Okay.
Everyone.
All right. Does the
Everybody.
rich pay enough? Do the rich pay enough?
Some of them do. In the case of Donald Trump, who spent a lifetime not
All right. Well,
paying
Donald
no
Trump's not in
taxes at
California.
all.
We're talking California right now. Do the rich pay enough? Would you like to see the rich pay more?
In California,
Yeah.
not necessarily.
Okay.
Not
All right,
necessarily.
Well, this is amazing then to me. All right. So there's one. I think that is a policy that will ruin California. Rich people will ultimately end up leaving. There'll be no money coming into the state. We saw that happen in Greece. That's a really bad thing. How about this one? Do you want law-abiding citizens carrying firearms? Do you like the idea that you got to have a 2-day class just to carry a firearm?
Okay, here's your answer. It's not a matter of law-abiding or not. It's a matter of sensible people, not idiots with a gun who, going to be responsible for somebody getting shot. Stupid people who leave their gun on their car seat and then it gets stolen. Those people.
I agree with you. Horrible things to do. But you understand that when it comes to the Second Amendment, it's a constitutional right. Unlike driving a car or unlike, that the government must provide trash pickup. Those are not constitutional rights. This is a constitutional right.
I have your answer.
Okay.
I don't want a banning of guns from citizens. I want responsible citizens to have guns. Not
So
just
would you agree, though?
Who thinks he needs a gun.
Edward, would you agree that the problem in California is you have some wild radicals in charge, and they're the ones who make the decisions? And the problem with liberals are they rely on government to make the decisions for the people, where conservatives would rather make decisions for themselves. So this sensible idea is who's making the decision?
Here's your answer. Every state in the United States has an idiot in government running things. Every state has one. Some states have multiple idiots running.
All right. So here's the thing. Instead of me asking you, Edward, what policy do you support that's ruining this state, can you explain to me a policy that you support from Gavin Newsom that's making this state great again?
I'm not all that familiar with his policies, but again, I'm sure there are some that I would disagree with.
All right,
even
Edward.
with Gavin Newsom.
All right, I'm going to give the floor to somebody else for a little bit of while. Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate that. Folks, that sums it up right there for you. Name me one policy that's making California great again. He can't do it. You think I could name to you policies that President Trump is doing to make America great again? You better believe I could. No tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, closing down our border, making sure that we're putting sanctions on China to make trade with them fair again. I can go on and on and on, taking wokeness out of the United States military and finally making our military more powerful again. I can keep going with policy after policy that President Trump is doing to make America great again, yet they can't say anything that Gavin Newsom is doing to make California great again. I can tell you things he's doing to ruin California. That's easy to do. Real quick phone call from Trent in Hermosa Beach. Trent, what say you, line 3?
Grant, good morning, man. First of all, you and I could whoop Booker and Swalwell in a wrestling match. I know we could do it.
Agreed.
Second of all, Scott in the high desert, I love him, and keep it going. We are turning California around. And, people from other states bagging on us, man, come on. You can't do that. Come on. This is L.A. and California, and we're trying hard here. Like you said, Grant, we're fighters. And like I said before, you and I could whoop up Booker and Swalwell.
Well, Trent, here's one thing I know about you. You're never, ever going to give up, and that's what makes these conservative Californians great. All of us sticking together. Jen Horn leading the way of these folks who have literally, from the moment she was born here, continuing to fight for this state. So, Trent, I'm with you. Right. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the phone call.
All right.
Here's the thing. You never give up, folks. You never, ever give up, even when it is stacked against us. And it certainly is. We keep fighting. It is why we fight. All right, that's going to do it for Stinchfield today. We will see you tonight on the Real America's Voice Show. It's so great having you on with me today. Stinchfield 1776 on all the social media platforms. Anywhere you're watching this, please like the video, share the video, even if that's copy and pasting the address of the video and tweeting it out or truthing it out. Please, this is how we get the message across. And if you're on Rumble, Facebook, Getter, or YouTube, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and follow me. Again, we're taking this country by storm thanks to you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you again tonight on the Real America's Voice Show.